Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 6 of Vlogmas. And if you are new here, my name is Emily from Emily Carmel Designs and I design colorful and happy bookish merch for readers. And today we are doing something a little bit different. So the #1 most requested thing that I get asked to make a video about is how to make magnetic bookmarks. So I thought, what better way to do it than for Vlogmas? So today I will be walking you through step by step for how to make magnetic bookmarks. And this video is going to be good for anybody that hasn't made them before, wants to learn how to do it, and it's also good for even if you have no interest in learning how to make magnetic bookmarks. If you want to see more in depth about what I do to make magnetic bookmarks, just like a general process to see like, oh, this is what goes on behind the scenes to like make these things and the work that goes into it, and then I hope you enjoy it too. So just for a quick little backstory, I started making magnetic bookmarks back in, I think it was 2019, and honestly once I started making those it was just like life-changing for my business, because it just kind of, that was like really what like catapulted my business into being like a full like bookish small business. And I will warn you, once you start designing magnetic bookmarks, it is addictive and you just start designing more and more and more and more, and then you become like me who has over 200 different design options. So get ready for that, because that's what you have ahead of you. But they are so much fun to make. I just think they're the cutest little like book accessory item. I'm obsessed with magnetic bookmarks. And so whether you are wanting to make these to sell in your own small business, or if you're wanting to make these just like to give as gifts or just use for yourself, or just make them just to see what the process is like, or again if you just want to watch the video just to hang out with me to see what I do every day, that's cool too. So we are going to get started. We are going to head over to the computer and I'm going to walk you guys through just kind of first like how to set up the file. I don't use any like artwork from like stock sites or like clip art, anything like that. I draw everything myself, so I can't really help in the aspect of like finding designs to use, but I can help if you are someone that you're an artist and you draw all your own stuff. So that's what we're gonna do. So before we start making the magnetic bookmarks, we are going to go over the materials and supplies that you're going to be needing to make these. It's really pretty simple, and I'm also going to have the materials list down in the description below so that you can go to that and go back to it as a reference too if you need it, because I know I need things visually and I also need things as a list because my brain, that's just how my brain works. So here are all the things that we will be using today to make the magnetic bookmarks. First things first will be a Silhouette Cameo machine. I have 2 different ones, but for today's video we are going to be working with my Silhouette Cameo 4. So you're going to need some luster paper, some strong magnets, a Cricut roller, and of course your Silhouette Cameo sticky mat. The first thing we're going to start off with is on your computer. I'm going to be using Adobe Photoshop. You want to open a document size that's going to be 3 by 5 inches, and make sure your resolution is set to 300 pixels per inch. That just ensures that you have the highest quality possible, so that when you go to print it, it's not going to be pixelated or blurry. It's going to be that just like perfect crisp quality. And then what I did, this is a template that I use, is I created this little rectangle strip that's going to be in the middle of our magnetic bookmark, and let's just put it up here. For the size, it is just under 1 inch wide and it is 2.5 inches long. This is going to be the middle strip, so when we're designing magnetic bookmarks, you can change the colors out and just make it really whatever you want to complement the design to make the magnetic bookmark uniquely yours. So for this example, we are going to be using the first ever design that I did back in 2019 for my bookish business, and this is actually the first ever magnetic bookmark I made too. So this is a PNG file. I drew this in Procreate, I uploaded it to my computer, brought it into Photoshop, and then since it's a PNG and has a transparent background, you don't have to worry about any white space behind it, needing to delete that or erase it or anything. So when you're working with making magnetic bookmarks, it's best to have the artwork that you're going to be using as like the main attraction have that PNG background for the transparency. And so what we want to do is, I have this document set up 3 by 5, and for a sizing reference, because you want your magnetic bookmarks, if you're going to be selling them, to be all like the same size pretty much. So because you don't want something to be like overly large or really small, you want them to be cohesive and fit well together. And so for this, what we want to do is, so you have your main artwork here. So this is going to be the front of the magnetic bookmark. So maybe just position it like right around here. And then what you want to do is you want to drag your design down to this plus icon here and duplicate it. Now, an important trick here is if your artwork has text, what you need to do is right click, flip horizontal, but then notice by doing that, your text is still backwards, even if you flipped it horizontally. So what you need to do is both flip your design horizontally and vertically. And then when you do that, you can see that the text is going to be the correct way if someone's looking at it from the back side, so it's not going to be backwards words, which we don't want. And you're going to keep this the same size, so you're not going to resize it or anything. And I just like to set it up so it just goes almost to the edge. And then, but also keeping in mind of how it looks with the middle band here, because you don't want the middle band to be like too long of a distance between it. You kind of want it to be just that perfect fit. So we're going to do it right there. And then what we're going to do is, this is really personal preference, but you can either keep the middle band here, visible like this, or you can see the pink through it. Or what you can do, which I just started doing actually pretty much like a year or two ago. I never used to do this, but you can just come over here and go to the brush tool and make sure you have white selected and go up here and select whichever size you would like. And then what I do is I just like to go through, we're going to zoom in here, and go in and just kind of like outline the design a little bit, because I don't want the colors to clash with the artwork that's like the main artwork here. So I just go in and then I just color over that. And it looks silly here, but I promise when you go to cut it, it's not going to look that silly. And then again, you're going to take that layer, drag it down to the plus to duplicate it, and then you can do Control T, which is what kind of just grabs the layer, and so you can then take it up here and drag it around. And then you're going to right click and you are going to flip vertically and flip horizontally. And again, you're just going to position it kind of right there. It's good. So now you have your magnetic bookmark file all set up, and the next step is going to be saving this. So you want to go up to File, Export, and we want to quick export it as a PNG file so it still has that transparent background. And we are going to go into Silhouette Studio. So the first thing you want to do when you open your Silhouette Cameo software is you want to make sure that your document size is set to 8.5 by 11, because we're going to be printing on that size of a paper. And then the way you can make sure it's set to that is over here on the right side. At the very top of the right panel, it says Page Setup Panel. You want to make sure you have that selected. And then you're going to go down here, and the third option says Media Size. You want to make sure you have letters selected, which will be the 8.5 by 11. And then also just make sure to double check that if you have multiple machines, that the machine you're going to be using is selected. And then also that your cutting mat is selected. So there's a few different size cutting mats you can have. So I have the 12 by 12 inch Cameo mat, but I just set it to auto Cameo because that's the auto one that they use. So make sure those are all selected. And once we have the page set up, what you want to do is still in the page setup section, you want to go over to this little right icon here where it says registration marks, and then you want to select on. And then what you want to do is come down here to where it says Inset, and then you want to just drag it all the way to the bottom. So if you look at the page, you can see the borders can be made really small, but what we want to do is make it so that it's virtually borderless, because how Silhouette sets it up is it prints with margins, but I like to print it borderless. But make sure that the printer you're using is capable of doing borderless, because otherwise this will get cut off and then it won't work well. So if you have a borderless printer, do this step. If you don't have a borderless printer, skip this step. But that just gives you more room to put more magnetic bookmarks on the sheet. And then once we have this set up, what you want to do is drag in your artwork file that we just set up in Photoshop. So I'm going to go down here to Files, And then I have a magnetic bookmark folder, and then I'm going to use the one that we made. I'm going to click it, drag it, and then just drop it, and then it's in here. And because it's the PNG background that I had talked about before, is that there's no background behind it. It's not white, so it's just transparent, which is what we want. And so the next step that we need to do is we need to set it up for cutting. So if you go over here again to the right, if you go down to this like butterfly icon, that's the trace panel. So you want to select that. You want to select trace area, and then this little like plus icon shows up. So what you want to do is click a little bit to the top left of your design, and then just drag around it and make sure you get it completely covered, because what this is doing is tracing the entire outer edge of the magnetic bookmark file so that it cuts around it. And then what we want to do is come over here to threshold, and we want to drag that all the way up to 100 so that it highlights the whole entire thing. And then we're going to come down to trace outer edge. And then if you see this little red line around the edge, that means now, let's see if we can drag this, that your whole artwork has just been traced. But we need to do one step further, because if we leave it at that, you don't have any borders around the magnetic bookmark, and it could cut off the artwork, and you need some borders for a little bit of wiggle room, because sometimes cut lines may be a little bit off. So you want to click and make sure you have the red outline selected, not your artwork. And then we're going to go back over to the right panel again, go down to the star, which is the offset panel. We're going to open that up. We're going to click offset, and then you'll notice that it creates an offset border around it. Usually I don't change the distance on these, like maybe I'll make it a little bit smaller or bigger depending on how it looks, but usually I just keep it as is. So we're just going to click apply, and then now what you want to do is go in and click the first red interior trace line that we did, not the outline, but the one that's like snugly fit against your artwork. You want to click that, and then on your keyboard click delete. And what that does is now there's no more trace around your artwork. It's only going to have that offset trace line with the border, so that this red line is what's going to be cut on your machine, so that when it goes to cut it, it's going to have a white border and your artwork won't get cut off. So we are going to select both of these, and we are going to group these. On Windows, it's Control G. And then I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. Now we can just move it around all together. I'm just going to do that. And then I'm just going to copy it and paste it. And we are just going to make a full document of the magnetic bookmarks. And we're going to get those cut. So we are going to talk about paper first, really quick before we get printing. So I love to use luster photo paper with like a pearl finish for making magnetic bookmarks. Over time, I've just found through trial and error that's just like the best one in my opinion, and I just love the look and feel of it. And the little tip that I have is when I first started making magnetic bookmarks, I would do it with like a 300 GSM paper, and I found over time that was a little bit too thick for making magnetic bookmarks, because when you're making magnetic bookmarks, after you cut it out and you have the file and you have the little bookmark, you need to fold it. And I found sometimes when I folded it, the top where it was folded would like kind of like crack open a little bit. We don't want any cracking in our artworks, so I decided to try a 250 GSM paper, and I found that that has been like the sweet spot, and it's just the perfect weight paper. It's still thick enough but not too light, but light enough that it won't crack and crease when you fold it. So yeah, I like to use a luster photo paper that is a pearl finish, 250 GSM, and I print on 8.5 by 11 size paper. And my printer is a Canon TS9521C, and it is the cutest little printer. I highly recommend it. Can't speak highly enough about it. It is my favorite printer, and I'll link that in the description so you can see the printer that I use if you want to check it out. And it's just, yeah, I use that printer for literally everything. And so now we are going to go through and get you guys all set up for actually printing the magnetic bookmark paper. So for actually printing your sheet, so we can get that set up to print all the correct colors. So now when you're ready to print the magnetic bookmarks to your printer, what you want to do is go up to the very top left where it says File, click that, click Print again, and then you want to make sure you have your printer selected. So I'm printing to the TS9500 series, and then we're gonna click preferences. Again, your printer preferences window might look a bit different from mine since different printers have different windows that come up. But the most important thing here is what we want to be doing is setting the media type to be luster photo paper. That's how you really get the correct color printing. Like if I was printing on luster paper, but I set the media type to matte, it wouldn't look correct. It would be really dull and the colors wouldn't be right. So it's really important to get the right paper type. So we're gonna go down here where it says media type. We're gonna click here, go to photo paper, and we're gonna select Photo Paper Pro Luster. Then printer paper size, make sure you have it at 8.5 by 11. Print quality, standard, paper source. I just have it on automatically select. And then we're gonna go over here to page setup. And this is the part where, again, if your printer is capable of doing a borderless print, instead of normal size selected here for page layout, you wanna select borderless. And then you want to move the extension down to nothing, because if you have an extension set up like this, basically it's like really just extending the artwork and almost enlarging it, and it could print off the paper, and it's not how you want it to be. So just set the extension to nothing. That way it only makes it borderless with no margins. It doesn't make your actual artwork any larger than you want it to be. And then you'd click OK. And then when you're ready to print, you would just print. Obviously, make sure you have the paper loaded in the printer, and then you'll be good to go to get everything printed. So now what we want to do, since we have our design printed on the paper, is we're going to take our silhouette cutting mat, we're going to take off the protective blue sheet, and you want to make sure that you take the square, you want to make sure that you take the side with the black square and make sure that lines with the top left, because this is the top left side of this sheet for when we're printing and for when the cutting machine is trying to register and figure out where everything is. You will always want this at the top left. So we are going to go up here and line this up with the top, and just make sure that when you're doing this, none of the paper like goes over that like black border on the edge here. And then what we're gonna do is, so I know this is a Cricut brand and it's not Silhouette, but I just love this roller. We're gonna take our roller, and this is just kind of an extra step, but over time when you're making a lot of magnetic bookmarks, you'll find that your sticky mats lose their stickiness. So I like to take this and just roll it over it, because it just helps to like really adhere it a little bit extra to the mat so that it's not moving around, because you don't want that, because then your designs, they get all messed up and you got to reprint it and start all over again. Okay, so now that the magnetic bookmark sheets are cut and we're ready to actually cut them, what we want to do is, when you're back in the Silhouette software, you're going to go up to the top right where it says send. And this is where we're going to send the file to the Silhouette Cameo so it can start cutting it. So what we're going to do is we can just stay on the simple tab here. And again, if you go down here, make sure you have the Silhouette Cameo that you're going to be using selected. So I'm going to be using my Cameo 4. If you have just one Cameo, it's automatically selected, but I have multiple. So just make sure you have the right one selected. And so the cut settings that I like to use, again, every Cameo can be different. Like I have 2 Silhouette Cameos, and when I'm doing Kiss Cut sticker sheets, I have to use 2 different cut settings because they just don't cut the same. So you may have to do a little bit of tweaking to get this to work for you, but what always works for me is I will set it to the cardstock glitter setting in the Silhouette Cameo. And then I keep the blade depth at 6, I keep the passes to 2, but the force I don't need to be that hard. So I bring that down usually to like 26 or 27. And then the speed, if my mat is really sticky, I will put it up to like 8 or 9 to go through quickly. But if my mat is kind of like at the end and lost a lot of stickiness but is still holding things a little bit, I'll set it to like 3 or 4, because I find the faster it goes, the more chance it's likely to slip off. So I will do that. So yeah. So these are my cut settings. If you want to take a picture of it or screenshot, just so you can use that as reference when you go to try it out. And then when you have those set up, you are going to go down to click send, and then you're going to get it cut. Okay, so we are ready to put this in the Cameo. So what you want to do is you want to go up here. You want to make sure to get it lined up with the edge of the cutting mat, right with this line here where the arrows are. And you want to make sure, hold it there and click the arrow to load it in. And then it'll be good to go. Okay, so now we have our mat all cut. So what we want to do is we're going to peel it off. But for this part, make sure you do it gently, because sometimes if you're pulling too fast or too hard, you can actually rip the magnetic bookmark, and we don't want to do that. So we are going to take it and gently peel here. See, I ripped some of the paper, but I didn't rip the magnetic bookmark, so that's what's important. There we go. Then so you're left with this. So what we're gonna do is just peel these off. And when you're doing this, don't do what I did. I used to like peel one off and then go through while still holding it and do the next one. Sometimes the sticky residue can stay on the back white side of the design, and that can transfer over to the other design. So what I like to do is I'll peel one off, lay it down, and then I'll peel another one off, but I'll actually put that one design side down so that both sides are the interiors, so that nothing is getting sticky. And I will stack them that way so that we don't have any sticky residue, because then you have oopsie magnetic bookmarks, and then you gotta make more, and that can just really cut into your day, and we don't want to do that. So avoid doing that. And now we have all them peeled off, and it's time to put the magnets on. So what we want to do is we want to take the magnetic bookmark, and here it is all cut, looking all cute. Look at that. And we're going to take it, and you just want to fold it gently in half. You don't want to squeeze it too hard, but just fold it. And then I just kind of make like a little bookmark assembly line here, and I'll just take this, go down the line, and I'll just fold them and set them up so that when I'm ready to do magnets, we can just go down the line and put them all on, so that way we can just get more done at once, which is awesome, because any way you can work smarter, not harder, is what you want to do. So when it comes to magnets, I like to use these round size magnets, but my biggest tip for magnets, and I will just say this because I'm always getting asked for people to say, what's the brand of magnets you use? Where can I find them? And the only reason that I don't share that is because I have had, like, I will share where I got supplies from on TikTok or something, and then so many people see it that the products I've been using for years sells out, and I'm left not being able to buy what I need to buy for my business, and I kind of put myself in a hole. And so I've kind of strayed away from just sharing where I get everything. That's the only reason I don't share where I get this, just because I've had issues before. A lot of the magnets that I've shared then going out of stock, and then I'm just left to panic and find more magnets. So that's the only reason I don't share the exact manufacturer I use, but there are so many. There's so many to choose from. But I will say I get them on Amazon, but the best tip I have is that find round ones, and they're not overly thick. Some people think they're thick, but I think they're the perfect size. So I get these ones, but then the most important thing you want to do is find magnets that have a 3M backing, because the 3M backing is the adhesive, is the type of adhesive that they use on the sticky part of the magnet. So that makes it so that the magnet just sticks like really well to your magnetic bookmark paper, because I've got magnets before that don't have the 3M adhesive, and I've just had issues where they would just peel off the paper, and we don't want that. We do not want peeling magnets. So look for 3M adhesive, as the 3M adhesive stuck to my finger. Okay, I promise the magnet is not a paid actor. Okay, good job, magnet. Good example. So, yeah, let's get these magnets on. So what I like to do for the magnets is, so you'll just take one of these and stick it in the middle And then you'll take another one, and before just sticking it on like this side, you want to take the part that has the like the magnet side, put it on this, and just kind of turn it around till you feel that snap, like it snaps into place. Sometimes you might have to move it because it may not always like evenly line up, which is fine because I mean ultimately you just want it to stick, but like it's really just a matter of seeing which way is worse. Like this side doesn't really line up the best, so I like the other way better. So we have that, and then you want to just take it, push it down, and then I like to just do an extra step of then I flatten it out and then push the individual magnets down individually, and then you have your magnetic bookmark. So then you just go through, and all the magnets that you're doing, just like I said, when you have your assembly line, I'm just always going through and making sure they stick. So magnet, put it on, and just pushing it down just to make sure the adhesive gets on there on the paper and it works. And then so here we have our new magnetic bookmark. And then so let's test it out. So we want to open it up and put it on our backer card. If you have a small business, I always recommend doing a fun little backer card just to make the packaging all cute and stuff. But okay, so are you ready for the best sound in the world? Are you ready? All right, and we're going to take this and snap it on, and then you have your magnetic bookmark. So that is how you make a magnetic bookmark. At least that is my way of doing it. I hope you found it useful and helpful, and I hope I answered everything for you guys. I know I tried to go off of like the specific questions you guys have asked before about it and just try to show it, but I know sometimes like when you do something just every single day for years, sometimes you might miss a step because you just don't think like, oh, you got to explain this part. So if I didn't explain anything, just ask me in the comments and I'd be happy to explain it. But again, I will have in the description a list of some of the things I like to use, along with my recommendations for how to find like the good magnets and like the paper and all that fun stuff, and like the print settings, cut settings, all that. I got you. I will help you out. So I hope you found this useful. I know so many people have been asking for me to make this video for really ever since I started my YouTube channel, which has been several months now. So I'm sorry for the wait, but I hope it was worth it and that you found this very helpful. And I hope you guys have fun making magnetic bookmarks. So I'd love to hear and see if there's a way you can show me like all the stuff you end up making. And yeah, it's a fun process. I love making magnetic bookmarks, and it's just, I love it. It's so much fun. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today on day 6 of Vlogmas. We are cruising right along. Day 7 is coming up very soon, and I'm gonna have a studio tour up for you guys very soon of showing you guys my studio all decorated and decked out for the holidays. It's gonna be a little bit messy because during the holiday season things are chaotic around here, but you know what, that's okay. That is part of running a business. It is not perfectly pretty and organized all the time, so we're just embracing it. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys are having a magical holiday season and reading some amazing books, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.